We're ready to rock and roll.
Okay, it's only like 30 days away for Halloween, where in the Native community we all get dressed up as Chimokaman, or the Great White Father would say, or we go as ourselves. Yeah, and our favorite, Kimberly Acosta, which did the great read on September 30th, is out to the Native American Music Awards to do some recording out there, so keep your eye open for those programs. So we want to welcome you to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, October 1st, now that I think about it. I am your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and look at the new features we got in there, 25 of them in the featured channel at IndianCountryTV.com. Here are the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Secret grand jury records have been posted on the internet. Confidential witness names have been revealed, and witnesses have received unwanted visits from defense representatives. Prosecutors handling the slaying case of an American Indian activist wrote in a recent court filing. Because of that, a state's judge in the Anime-Aquash murder case should put limits in place before evidence is turned over to defense attorneys so it can't be misused, they argued. John Graham of Canadians Yukon Territory and Thelma Conroy Rios of Rapid City, South Dakota are charged in state court with taking part in the kidnapping and killing of Aquash, a fellow American Indian Movement member from Nova Scotia, in the year 1975. Prosecutors had said AIM leaders suspected Aquash was a government informant. Her body was found on the Pine Ridge Reservation with a gunshot wound to the back of her head in December of 75. In a September 11th motion, defense lawyer John Murphy argued that because Graham has not been arraigned in state court, he doesn't have access to grand jury transcripts to see what evidence led to the new indictment. The version of the document he received had witness names blacked out. The prosecution wrote that they want to protect witnesses because of incidents in which confidential sources have been identified, contacted, and their credibility attacked in the news media. The Rosebud Sioux Tribe is getting $25 million in federal stimulus money to build a new jail, but money to operate the facility is less certain. Tribal Chairman Rodney Bordeaux says more money from housing federal prisoners might be one source of increased operating income, and Representative Stephanie Herseth says that once the facility is built, it might be easier to get more federal dollars for operations. Another potential problem is staffing. Most tribal correctional candidates have to travel to Artesia, New Mexico for training at the Indian Police Academy. One answer being considered in a Senate Interior Appropriations bill is a $500,000 appropriation for the Indian Police Academy to set up satellite training centers, including one in conjunction with United Tribes Technical College in Bismarck, North Dakota. As an attorney specializing in American Indian law in Arizona, Robert Broshley routinely fields questions from fellow lawyers about where to file a complaint if a client slipped and fell in a tribal casino or if there was a vehicle accident on reservation land. With 22 tribes in a state more than one quarter covered by tribal lands, more than any other state, those jurisdictional issues are likely to surface at least once in an Arizona attorney's career. That's the main argument behind a push to have American Indian law added to the state bar examination. If a complaint is filed in the wrong court, attorneys run the risk of a malpractice lawsuit, missing the statute of limitations, or simply wasting clients' time and money. The state Supreme Court considered a petition from the State Bar of Arizona to add the new legal area last month, but is holding off on a decision pending a study on a uniform bar exam. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency will have to reconsider an air permit the agency issued last year for a proposed $3 billion coal-fired power plant on the nation's largest Indian reservation, a federal appeals board has ruled. The decision by the Environmental Appeals Board in part grants a request by regional EPA offices who wanted to take another look at parts of the permit for the $3 billion Desert Rock Energy project on the Navajo Nation in northwestern New Mexico. The board, in a ruling released last week, also said the EPA abused its discretion by not considering integrated gasification combined cycle technology. in its analysis of the best available pollution control systems for the plant. Desert Rock critics said they were thrilled with the board's decision. Environmentalists in the state of New Mexico have argued that Desert Rock, which would be the third coal-fired power plant in the Four Corners region, would further degrade air quality, harm the environment, and impact human health. The Navajo Nation's Dene Power Authority and Houston-based Sithe Global LLC have partnered to build the 1,500 megawatt power plant south of Farmington, New Mexico. In a show of solidarity with the Hopi tribe, Navajo Nation President Joe Shirley this week on Wednesday said he stands with the Hopi in opposition to environmental groups' interference with tribal sovereignty. I stand with the Hopi Nation, Shirley said. Unlike ever before, environmental activists and organizations are among the greatest threat to tribal sovereignty, tribal self-determination, and our quest for independence. Shirley's remarks came in response to the Hopi Tribal Council's action this last Monday, declaring that the Sierra Club and 3 other environmental groups are not welcome on the Hopi reservation. By a resolution approved 12-0, the council declared the environmental groups persona non grata, saying that they have worked diligently to deprive the tribe of markets for its coal resources and the attendant revenues needed to sustain governmental services such as jobs, provide jobs for members of the tribe, and secure the survival of the Hopi culture and tradition. While Shirley said that he and the Navajo Nation strongly support the positive goals of many environmental organizations, he said environmentalists are good at identifying problems but poor at identifying feasible solutions. He noted that the actions of sub-environmental groups led to the closure of the Mojave generating station and the shutdown of the Black Mesa mine, but did nothing to replace the 400 paychecks that were lost or the tribal revenue that was not replaced. The Hopi Tribal Council resolution noted that the environmental groups have been unreceptive to the tribe's request for time to diversify and transition the Hopi economy. The utility that owns 4 hydroelectric dams on the Klamath River in Oregon has agreed to terms for their removal, a key milestone in efforts to restore what was once the 3rd biggest salmon run on the West Coast and end decades of battles over scarce water. PacifiCorp, the state of California and Oregon, American Indian Tribes, federal agencies, irrigators, and conservation groups announced the draft agreement this last Wednesday. It is expected to be signed by the end of the year. Removal of the dams is not scheduled to start until 2020 and depends on funding for the removal, federal determination that it will actually help salmon and is in the public interest, and authorization from Congress. Hundreds of Native American dancers and singers are expected to gather at the 15th annual Coushatta Powwow celebration, October 2nd through 4th in Kinder, Louisiana, one of the largest gatherings in the South. The powwow will feature competitive dancing and Native American arts and crafts exhibitions during their spectacular 3-day festivals. Traditionally, the term powwow is defined as a gathering of nations, and the Coushatta Powwow brings together representatives of tribes from all over the U.S. and Canada, converging on a pageant of majesty and splendor down there in the South. So if you want to get down there, take some time. And also, we noted this previously, want to do it again with an update. The traveling exhibit on Native American imagery, Bittersweet Winds, will be on display October 5th through October 9th at the Harmony Cafe in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then in conjunction with that exhibit, on Wednesday, October 7th from 6 to 9, they're having their second free concert at the Harmony Cafe. IndianCountryTV.com is currently working to broadcast that concert, free of charge, of course, from that site in Green Bay live. And hopefully by tomorrow or Monday, we'll give you the details of the bands playing there. We'll be at www.indiancountrytv.com and the featured channel, and we'll be going live from that 6 to 9 p.m. next Wednesday, if we can do it, and bring it to you live from the Harmony Cafe in Green Bay. Thanks for joining with us, and that's the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Stop in again soon.